Hi, my name is Mike Hopkins and I'm running for ASUM Business Manager. Now, you may or may not know, but ASUM, or at least our elected part of ASUM, is made up of a Senate as well as an executive team. The Senate being made up of 26 individually elected senators, and our executive team being made up of a president, a vice president, and a business manager. So whereas the president may represent ASUM to the public or to the administration, the vice president will be the president of the Senate as well as handle committees. And the business manager has a very unique role within ASUM, both for the fact that it has by far the most interaction with student groups, but also I would argue the most impact on student groups. And so what I would like to do is run through what I see as the main duties of the business manager, because there's quite a few of them, and through the course of that explain to you why I'm running for ASUM Business Manager. So first, as you might think, the business manager is responsible for overseeing a number of accounts within ASUM. Obviously, we have things such as ASUM Sustainability Services, our Renter Center, Legal Services, ASUM Child Care, as well as the ASUM Administration. The ASUM Administration would be like our office space, employees working within that office space. And second, the business manager is the chair for a number of different committees. First, you have the Publications Board, and the Publications Board is where we will hire, say, the Kaiman editor, or the Kaiman business manager for that matter. And then the business manager also chairs the most important committee or board within ASUM, and that is the Board of Budget and Finance. Now, I'm a current serving senator on ASUM, and I'm a current serving member of the Board of Budget and Finance, and I can tell you that the impact that the Board of Budget and Finance has on the lives of student groups is big. It's a big impact. And the way that that works is that a student group, especially if it's an older, more experienced student group, will fill out a request form for an allocation from ASUM, and we'll bring it to the business manager. Now, if it is a younger student group, if it's a new student group, then it's the business manager's job to sit down with that student group and to explain the process to them, to walk them through the process, to help them when it comes to filling out the forms, when it comes to itemizing their request, because it can be somewhat of a complicated process, especially when you're first starting out. So it's important that the business manager is competent and understands the process themselves, but it's also important that the business manager is capable of articulating the process to that individual student group in a way that they can understand, so that they have the best chances for success. Now, whether or not the business manager personally sits down with the student group, which happens the vast majority of the time, once that request is received, it'll be brought to the Board of Budget and Finance. Now, the business manager's role in the Budget and Finance Board is interesting because the business manager doesn't have a vote. At the end of the day, it's senators, such as myself this year on the Board of Budget and Finance, as well as students at large, that will end up making the recommendation for the board of how much money to appropriate to that student group's request. And so because the business manager does not have a vote, it's important that the business manager understands that request. It's important that the business manager understands that student group. It's important that the business manager understands what the student group is trying to get accomplished, because often what will happen on the Board of Budget and Finance is that we will ask the business manager questions, such as, what was the priority for the student group within this request? Or what sources of outside funding were the student group able to procure for this request? Or what will happen if this group does not get the funding that it's requesting? And so it's important for the business manager, because the business manager doesn't have a vote, to be able to articulate all of that to the Board of Budget and Finance, to be able to clearly explain the business manager's position on what route should be taken or what should be looked at on the actual recommendation. And if you have a business manager, like our current business manager, Mike Nielsen, who is very involved with student groups, who has a great understanding of student groups, who has a great understanding of student group requests and what they're trying to get accomplished, what their priorities are, the sources of outside funding that they have, well then that business manager is taken very seriously, and that business manager's opinion is taken very seriously when it comes to deciding what we are going to appropriate for that student group at the end of the day. Regardless, once the senators and the students at large make that recommendation of how much money to appropriate to that student group, that request will then go from the Board of Budget and Finance to the ASUM Senate, which meets every Wednesday at 6 o'clock if you're ever interested on coming on down. We have a great time. And that request will be brought up under the business manager's report. The business manager will chair the business manager's report. So once again, the business manager will chair the actual report itself and will not get a vote on the actual request itself. And so a lot of the same dynamics that are at play on the Board of Budget and Finance are also at play on the ASUM Senate. The difference is that on the ASUM Senate, you're dealing with 26 individuals, not counting the president or the vice president. So you're dealing with 28 other individuals. And because of that, it's all the more important that the business manager is capable of creating those working relationships with those individuals to procure the number of votes needed to pass a student group resolution, to pass a student group request, and to see if that student group gets allocated the money that they need in order to succeed. Currently on the ASUM Senate, when the Board of Budget and Finance brings a recommendation to ASUM, we pass it almost unanimously. And it is not changed whatsoever 99% of the time. And that happens for a couple of different reasons, but I think primarily, first, that people on ASUM Senate believe and trust the individuals who are on the Board of Budget and Finance this year. They believe that we do right by the student money, that we give it the due diligence that it deserves. It's very important to us that student money is taken care of and that it's treated very carefully. And because of that, they trust us. And they trust that we have gone through the recommendation, or that we have gone through the request, and that we did the right thing. But I would say even more than that, they believe that the business manager did the right thing. They believe that the business manager really knows what she's doing. They believe that the business manager truly understands the request, and just like with the Board of Budget and Finance, that the business manager has done right by the student money, that the business manager has given it the due diligence that it deserves. And because of that, like I said, we pass it almost unanimously, and it has hardly ever changed. And I think that could be very different depending on the type of business manager that you have. I think that depending on the type of business manager that you have, those type of recommendations could be given a lot less money, that those student groups could be given a lot less money. And so it's very important to have a business manager that understands the process, that's able to articulate the process, that's able to articulate the stance of the student group's request to the Senate, but also able to cultivate those working relationships with people in the Senate, to cultivate that trust. And so what I've been trying to get at here is that the business manager has become the main liaison on ASUM for students and for student groups, certainly through the budgeting process, obviously, but to ASUM in general. And I'm running because Micah Nielsen, our current business manager, isn't running again. I think Micah Nielsen did a fantastic job, and I want to make sure that next year student groups don't lose out on that partner that they've had this entire year. I am on the executive team of a student group, and I know and I trust that Micah Nielsen does right by us as a student group. I know that trust that the Board of Budget and Finance does right by us as a student group. And I'm running because I want to make sure that students still feel that way next year. I want to make sure that students know that they still have a partner in the ASUM Business Manager, a partner that understands the process, because being on the Board of Budget and Finance, I've been involved in every single student group allocation, request, and appropriation that's happened this entire year. I know the process very well. I know the way that it works, and I am capable of working with student groups to make sure that they have the best chance for success when they're requesting money from ASUM. It's just a vitally important role, and I really think that the experiences that I have had over the last year on the Board of Budget and Finance, on the ASUM Senate, speaking up for the student groups, really prepares me well for this role. And I'm really passionate about the position. I'm very passionate about students and working with student groups. So if you've listened to this and you think that I'm passionate about the position as well, if you've listened to this and you agree that I would be the best candidate for business manager, I'd be truly honored to have your vote. And in addition to that, I'd be truly honored if you would talk to your friends, if you would tell them about this video here and to come watch it, to come check out my Facebook page and like it to receive campaign updates, and if you're ever looking to get involved, to go ahead and give me a call. You'll find my phone number as well as my email down in the About information. And I just want to say that ASUM is a really important thing in student life. The ability of student groups, no matter how the student group decides to get together with other individuals around a common interest. It's very important that the student groups have ASUM there, that they're able to request funding, because otherwise a lot of these student groups wouldn't be able to do what they do. It would just simply be too expensive. These kids are trying to go to school. And so it's important that we have a business manager who's there for student groups, who understands what it's like to be a part of an executive team of a student group, to be a part of a student group who needs a working partner in ASUM to get their requests through, to make sure that they get enough money to be able to put on the events that they put on. It's a very unique experience being on the Board of Budget and Finance. It's a very unique experience being an ASUM senator. I look forward to running for business manager. I would be honored to have your vote, and I would be honored to serve as your business manager for next year. Throughout this campaign, I will add on a couple more YouTube videos to talk about a couple of different subjects, expand a little bit more on some of the things that I would like to see done as ASUM Business Manager for the next year. Thank you very much for watching my video, and I would be honored to have your vote. Thank you.